Good morning, everyone. This is What's Your IQ with Nancy Barbie. It's New Year's Eve. Can you believe it? A New Year's getting ready to starting tomorrow, and we're looking forward to 2026 right here in small town Pollocksville, North Carolina. And my guest today is none other than the mayor of Pollocksville, Jay Bender. Jay, how are you doing today?
Great, Nancy. Happy New Year to you.
Same to you, same to you. Tell us a little bit about the history of Pollocksville. How did Pollocksville come to be a town and when did it start? Give us a little history, a little background.
Well, remember, Jones County was originally a part of Craven County, and so most of the settlers in this area were part of the Swiss and French and German Palatinates that came and settled in the area. Not really sure. I think there was activity here in the late 1700s, early 1800s, just a very small settlement. Pollocksville was originally chartered in 1834 as Pollocksville. Before that, it had been known as Trent Bridge, obviously, because of our northern boundary being the Trent River. Interestingly enough, the five people appointed by the General Assembly to charter the town didn't do it. They failed to do it. And so in 1849, a new charter was issued. Those people did it. And so our town seal reflects our seal shows 1849, and so that's what we used. And the town was really pretty much limited to the area around the waterfront. There were docks and wharves and stores and warehouses, and that's pretty much the way it stayed until the early 1890s when the railroad came through, and that just kind of changed Pollocksville. There were more businesses. There was growth, and with the railroad came uh, the mode of transportation to take advantage of all of the timber that was in the area. And you remember as well as I do the presence of the sawmill that was in Pollocksville, which was a real economic engine. Most people don't remember, but this town lived and breathed by the mill whistle. Uh, it 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 went off at 7 and tooted at 12, and a long whistle at 5, and then that ended in the late 60s. Um, so now I would say that Pollocksville has become a really nice bedroom community. We're kind of equal distance from Kinston, from Jacksonville, much closer to New Bern, um, and 30 minutes from the beach. And so we have the opportunity in Pollocksville and the greater Pollocksville area to welcome folks who don't want to live in a town, but want to be close. I mean, after all, we're only 15 minutes away from the largest Harris teeter in the world.
That's exactly
So
right. That's
anyway,
exactly right. We have been known, and you and I grew up here, and so we knew what the bustling town was like, and then when the railroad left, that sort of begun the um, shift to other places, and we seem to be geographically um, sort of landlocked in these big towns that you're talking about, Kinston, Jacksonville, New Bern, not far away from anything, but and it would be a great place for to raise children and to be have a quiet neighborhood. But let's suppose people really don't want to do that. What programs can we offer or things can we offer that will differentiate this town from the larger ones to really draw people here? What can we do, Jay?
I'm not sure. I think we have to promote the things that we have. If for nothing else, we have our own elementary school, which is to me a real benefit. There's so many communities that have to bus their children, and you want to raise children in Pollocksville, and they can walk to school like you and I did. We've talked about it over and over. Our greatest asset is the Trent River. Um, as we know from two hurricanes and two floods, it's also our greatest liability. So I think we're going to have to continue to do things to make the town as resilient to floods. Um, I think we're going to have to figure out a way, and I'm not sure what that is yet. We're going to have to figure out a way to get people off the bypass.
Ah,
Um, and it's almost a chicken or the egg situation. People want something to come into town for, and yet it becomes difficult to encourage businesses to establish roots. So it's a challenge. It really is. I do think that if our FEMA BRIC grant or North Carolina HMGP grant, whichever one we get, goes through, and we can flood proof or mitigate some of our old commercial buildings. We've got three or four identified. At least that would give a potential business renter or owner some sense of security that if he or she opens a coffee shop or a dress shop or an antique shop or something like that, at least we've done everything we can to mitigate.
absolutely.
I think the other thing, which has been talked about before, but we've not done enough with it, is trying to really work hard to connect with the national forests, the forest walk, bike trails. We've got our own bike lanes in Pollocksville now, but they just go through town. We need them going somewhere else.
That will keep people here, exactly. And you just mentioned, you've touched on it, and but let's really dive into, 2018 Florence came, it devastated us. We're still recovering, and we've done a lot. Tell me some of those. Of course, we can talk about challenges all day, but tell me about the successes. What have we really done to come back?
I think we've done a tremendous amount. Um, in round figures, since Hurricane Florence, um, we've acquired about $22.5 million in grants. For a town of 300 people, that is no small feat. So we've got a new water treatment plant that is being upfitted. We've got a brand new sewer system that was turned on, moved outside of the floodplain. We redid Main Street with plantings and banner poles and got rid of that dreaded middle lane and have parking spaces and a bike lane, all of which won for us, won for the town, the 2024 NCDOT Moby Award for a good looking downtown. I guess that's the best thing. We got grants to clean up the waterfront. We got a renovated boat ramp, which I contend is the finest boat ramp um, anywhere around. We were fortunate enough to get grant much limited to the area around the waterfront. There were docks and wharves and stores and warehouses. And that's pretty much the way it stayed until the early 1890s when the railroad came through. And that just kind of changed Pollocksville. There were more businesses. There was growth, and with the railroad came uh, the mode of transportation to take advantage of all of the timber that was in the area. And you remember as well as I do the presence of the sawmill that was in Pollocksville, which was a real economic engine. Most people don't remember, but this town lived and breathed by the mill whistle.
That's right.
Uh, it 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 went off at 7 and tooted at 12, and a long whistle at 5, and then that ended in the late 60s. Um, so now I would say that Pollocksville has become a really nice bedroom community. We're kind of equal distance from Kinston, from Jacksonville, much closer to New Bern, um, and 30 minutes from the beach. And so we have the opportunity in Pollocksville and the greater Pollocksville area to welcome folks who don't want to live in a town, but but want to be close. I mean, after all, we're only 15 minutes away from the largest Harris teeter in the world.
That's exactly right.
So
That's
anyway,
exactly right. We have been known, and you and I grew up here, and so we knew what the bustling town was like, and then when the railroad left, that sort of begun the um, shift to other places, and we seem to be geographically um, sort of landlocked in these big towns that you're talking about, Kinston, Jacksonville, New Bern, not far away from anything, but and it would be a great place for to raise children and to be have a quiet neighborhood. But let's suppose people really don't want to do that. What can we do to, what programs can we offer or things can we offer that will differentiate this town from the larger ones to really draw people here? What can we do, Jay?
I'm not sure. I think we have to promote the things that we have. If for nothing else, we have our own elementary school, which is to me a real benefit. There's so many communities that have to bus their children, and you want to raise children in Pollocksville, and they can walk to school like you and I did. We've talked about it over and over. Our greatest asset is the Trent River. Um, as we know from two hurricanes and two floods, it's also our greatest liability. So I think we're going to have to do things, continue to do things to make the town as resilient to floods. Um, I think we're going to have to figure out a way, and I'm not sure what that is yet. We're going to have to figure out a way to get people off the bypass.
Ah,
Um, and it's almost a chicken or the egg situation. People want something to come into town for, and yet it becomes difficult to encourage businesses to establish roots. So it's a challenge. It really is. I do think that if our FEMA brick grant or North Carolina HMGP grant, whichever one we get, goes through, and we can flood proof or mitigate some of our old commercial buildings. We've got three or four identified. At least that would give a potential business renter or owner some sense of security that if he or she opens a coffee shop or a dress shop or an antique shop or something like that, at least we've done everything we can to mitigate.
absolutely.
I think the other thing, which has been talked about before, but we've not done enough with it, is trying to really work hard to connect with the national forests, the forest walk, bike trails. We've got our own bike lanes in Pollocksville now, but they just go through town. We need them going somewhere else.
That will keep people here, exactly. And you just mentioned, you've touched on it, and but let's really dive into, 2018 Florence came, it devastated us. We're still recovering, and we've done a lot. Tell me some of those. Of course, we can talk about challenges all day, but tell me about the successes. What have we really done to come back?
I think we've done a tremendous amount. Um, in round figures, since Hurricane Florence, um, we've acquired about $22.5 million in grants. For a town of 300 people, that is no small feat. So we've got a new water treatment plant that is being upfitted. We've got a brand new sewer system that was turned on, moved outside of the floodplain. We redid Main Street with plantings and banner poles and got rid of that dreaded middle lane and have parking spaces and a bike lane, all of which won for the town the 2024 NCDOT Moby Award um, for a good looking downtown. I guess that's the best thing. We got grants to clean up the waterfront. We got a renovated boat ramp, which I contend is the finest boat ramp um, anywhere around. We were fortunate enough to get grant funding to move our historic uh, town hall railroad station to higher ground. I think if it floods again, the whole town will be flooded. So I
So
think we've done those things. We just recently completed a project to extend our new sidewalks. We had sidewalks put in, and we extended those sidewalks all the way to the Dollar General and the new Jones County EMS building, which is another. This is another great reason for someone to want to locate in our area, because with the doctor's office across the street and the EMS building there and a good fire department, we can provide those safety things. There are
that's
probably some more things that we've done. We paved streets. We paved all of our streets and put up new street signs that were damaged because of the flood. I don't think people realize how much damage we got. And
if they weren't here, they certainly don't. That if they didn't see it firsthand, it's hard to imagine the depth of the water that came downtown, right in the middle of Pollocksville. And I mean, no one realizes, and we weren't prepared. We thought we were. We've been prepared for years for hurricanes and floods, but nothing of that catastrophic event.
well, we weren't. I mean, we were here in 1999, and we saw how high the water got, and I said then it will never get that high again, and it did. Um, and and we got a lot of press
We
for a
did.
little town that took a hit, and I think that helped us in getting some of these grants. I can't continue this conversation without a real shout out to our partners at North Carolina State, the Coastal Dynamics Design Lab, who were encouraged by some other folks to get involved with Pollocksville. And just about every one of the grants that I mentioned earlier, other than the big infrastructure things like water and sewer, Coastal Dynamics Design Lab was behind that. Um, Nancy, you and I have talked about this before the flood, and when we knew the bypass was coming, we said that we need to reimagine what our town could be. It was not going to be where you and I grew up. It just
Hmm.
wasn't. Um, and remember, we worked and got quotes for plans, and it was ridiculous amount of money. And
Hmm.
we would have meetings and go down rabbit holes and talk about whether you were going to do crepe myrtles or oaks in the street rather than the big stuff. CDDL, Coastal Dynamics, came in and pulled us all together,
That's right.
got us all to agree to a plan. And plans are only as good as if they can be implemented. And CDDL worked very hard to start implementing our plans. And if this elevation project goes through, which it's going to go through either at the federal or the state level, I think that's going to be phase three or phase 3A or phase four of CDL's plans.
Mhm.
And we've got a couple of other phases to go.
We do.
So we haven't stopped. We haven't stopped. There's still more to do.
That's exactly right. So, Jay, you've been mayor for quite a number of years now. How many years has it been?
43 years.
43 years. He's made a career out of it and been a good mayor. But let me ask you this question. I know that somewhere over those 43 years, or maybe in several times, that you made some decisions that were very unpopular, that you got a lot of pushback from, and um, how do you think that turned out? I mean, what pushback did you get, and how did it matter in the long run? What changed?
Um, well, I guess when I think back, Nancy, I think most people who have disagreements disagree after the fact.
Hmm.
Um, they, all politics is local. I've always said that if most of us would spend half as much time paying attention to what's going on at the town hall and at the county commissioners meetings as we do to what's going on in Raleigh and in Washington, we would be better informed. Um, we've not made any decisions that haven't been out there in front of everybody. And yet, when all of a sudden, for example, when the sidewalks went through, someone says, "Well, if I'd known you wanted sidewalk, I'd have never agreed to that." Well, it was never a secret. I guess probably the one thing that I can I can think that we got some initial pushback was on the efforts to recover and restore and move the town hall. Um, and I think part of that was some misunderstanding by people that um, FEMA or whatever agency was just going to give you a check
And
and
say
you
do
could do with
whatever.
it what you do
Yeah.
what you wanted with it. And what I what I'd always said and what I had to convince some people is if FEMA or the state or anybody gives you some money for X, they expect you to spend it on X. And if you don't, they're just going to go give the money to someone else.
Right.
So the whole town hall process was a big thing. I think it was a rousing success, um, and I think people appreciate it now. My experience over the years is that for the most part, even the things that were somewhat considered unpopular um, become much more popular. Let me give you another example. We fought for 6 or 7 years to get sewer in town. As you know, an overwhelming number of lots in this town will not perk, but there were people who had good septic systems and they didn't want to switch. Um, we did. It created some issues, but I'm going to tell you, having been through more hurricanes and two floods and everything, we can all put up with a lot of indignities. But when the water runs and the toilets flush, um, you can do without power and this type of thing. And that's what we've done. During Hurricane Florence, we were the only entity in Jones County that had water and sewer.
And I live here, and that was very nice. I can tell you, and I was
I'm
flooded, so that was a very,
I'm
very good
I'm
perk.
I'm proud of that. So um, there have probably been some other little minor things. I guess my attitude has been that um, I can't think of many decisions I made on my own. I've had a strong I've had a strong and cooperative board that would push back if there was something that they didn't like or suggest an alternative that was better than what someone else came up with. Um, I mean, you sit on the board, so you know there's not much fighting, there's not much argument. There's a lot of discussion. There's a can we do it better? Uh, is this the best way? But I think I think what I've tried to do and what the board has always tried to do is it really doesn't matter about you or me or any one of us individually. It's what do we think is overall best for Pollocksville,
True. That is very
and
true.
that's the reason we're here.
There's a lot of, and since we've lived here all of our lives, and you've gone to outside places, to other meetings and other municipal municipalities, and you've talked to people about Jones County, and there's a lot of misconceptions about Jones County, about Pollocksville. Um, what misconception do you think that people still have about Pollocksville and still have about Jones County, and how does that limit our opportunities?
Hmm. Uh, I guess the some of the challenges that I see in Jones County, which I think kind of reflect back down to Pollocksville, is is that we're a kind of a divided county. We've got three tiny municipalities, and everybody in the Trenton area gravitates to Kinston, and everybody in the Maysville area gravitates to Jacksonville, and everybody in Pollocksville gravitates to New Bern. And we struggle to try to come together to do things that will be good. I had a business partner one time who owned a big company, and my company was a subsidiary of him. And his comment was everything that's good for his company was good for me. And I said, not necessarily. I said, but everything that's good for my company is going to be good for yours because you own part of mine. That's kind of the way I feel about Pollocksville and Jones County. Everything that the county does doesn't always benefit Pollocksville, but everything Pollocksville does benefits Jones County overall. And so I think with our utilities, our street improvements, our things, um, we've helped to make Jones County a better place. I think there's some jealousy,
Mm.
maybe not expressed, but some jealousy um, for among the towns. As you know, how did you get that? How did you get that? You lived in Maysville for a while, and so um, you probably hear more than I do. But I've heard several folks say, "Well, why can't Pollocksville get some of the things that Maysville has?" Well, my argument has been that Maysville wasn't flooded.
Not like we,
So,
yeah,
and so Maysville has been able to argue for things that are not a less priority for Pollocksville, but for Pollocksville, we've got to get back. Um, my argument has been that it took 72 hours to wreck our town.
yeah.
It's going to take 72 months or more to get it back.
Hmm.
If
Exactly.
you if you weren't if you weren't flooded, you just don't know. And so I think the towns and the county are working more closely together. Um, and and I think over the years we are doing a better job and hopefully erasing some of the negatives that some people may have about our county.
Yeah. True, true, true. So, Jay, you know, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, what do you hope people will say this town how it changed, and what did we do to encourage people to come here, and what's your vision of the town? What do you think we're going to look like in 10 years, 20 years, or what are you hoping we'll look like?
I'd love for us to have some more people. I'd love for us to have some housing. I think we've got the potential of some property surrounding us that may become available, and someone will come in and put single family or uh, apartments or something, so that people can enjoy that. I think, as I said, the chicken or the egg thing. I think we're going to have a bigger population base if we hope to support um, businesses that can make a profit. I've said it before. There are people that make more than you and I have ever made that do nothing but sit around and crunch numbers and look at demographics, and they say, um, this area can't support a drugstore, it can't support a grocery store, it can't support a whatever. So we've got to give them a reason to support. So I would love to see some housing. I continue to advocate for um, the intersection of at the bypass. I have said for years that has the potential to be the commercial center of Jones County. Um, we have to have some property owners that are willing sell or lease their property. But I mean, I just see a major gas station with a Bojangles and the obligatory Chinese food takeout and a nail salon and maybe a branch of the ABC store. That's what I would love to happen. Um, and and with that, I think with that commercial area out there, I think then that stretch between the bypass and that little stretch between what is known as Hatchville, that might be some incentive to clean up some of those dilapidated properties, and just make our whole community, what is our phrase, a better place to live, work, and play.
Right,
I,
right.
I think we
And
can.
I think you're right. I think it's going to. And I mean, I agree 100% that people said when the bypass was coming in that, oh my gosh, we'll be overlooked. We'll be off the, we won't be on the map anymore. And we've heard things throughout the years. And you mentioned earlier about the different townships going to different places in larger towns. And it was even discussed years ago. I remember Pollocksville going to Craven County, Maysville going to Onslow, Trenton going to Lenore County. So that was even talked about several times. And the school system being divided like that and moved into the different counties. Thank God we did not do that. We would have been really, really, I think, lost among the larger places had we done that.
I think you're right, Nancy, and yet one of the things that people at higher levels than local municipal government are constantly promoting consolidation, regionalization,
That's right.
sharing resources, um, uh, the economies of scale. Um, we're struggling right now here in the county with three sewer systems and three water systems, and how do you bring all those folks together and still offer um, equitable rates to everyone. At the county level, there have been discussions about farming social services or the health department out to one of the neighboring counties. Um,
Mhm.
we had the opportunity to partner with neighboring counties for animal control, and we turned it down.
Yeah.
So that was possibly a mistake. So it, it makes it very challenging when all of the state agencies who might be willing to give you money will only do it if you agree to regionalize. So regionalization, I think, will um, provide an opportunity as well as a challenge to to make it work.
I think that's coming, and I think we all see it coming, and or the people that are sort of more involved see it coming. How do you think the local people will react to those types of things? And a lot of people sit around and talk about. I myself do the same thing. What could be? What should we do? Why do they do that? You know, have complaints, but also encouraging remarks as well. But what can we do to encourage those people that are doing all those talking and to take action, to maybe get involved and take action to help instead of tear things down? What can we do to encourage people, our citizens to do that?
Well, I think we need to have folks we need to have folks to come to our meetings, to get involved, to be more aware, to offer suggestions. I think one of the struggles that most people have is that all you got to do is just make a suggestion, and the snap of a finger, it'll be taken care of. I've had board members in the past that ran for election and served, and they had a laundry list of things they wanted to do and realized that it wasn't going to happen overnight or at all. Um, I think one of the things that I've noticed, um, the filling station here in town. uh, got a grant from Chick-fil-A and from some other agencies, and have been doing a program called Leadership Jones, in which they try to encourage people to get involved, whether it committee work or politics or whatever. Um, they just completed their sixth whatever cohort. I noticed that one of their graduates filed for county commissioner and
Okay.
is probably going to be elected without opposition. There was another graduate who serves on one of the local town boards. So I think that particular thing has educated folks about opportunities that they can serve. And again, it doesn't have to be elected office. It can be on the planning board. It can be on the economic development board. It can be on the ABC, whatever. You have to start somewhere, and so I think encouraging people to come to our meetings, to offer comments, um, in a civil and decent manner, not coming in, you know, lambasting. And
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I'm not much on airing dirty laundry in public. Uh, and and I just have to believe that there are an awful lot of superlatives about our town um, that need to be elaborated on, as opposed to saying what's wrong with us.
Yeah. And that's exactly the reason for this podcast, because people don't know, or if they do know, they have forgotten. And so this podcast is talking about, and it's called What's Your IQ? What's your impact quotient? And we're talking about the impact that the things that you talked about today has had on Pollocksville and will have in the future. We don't know what's coming, but we have a vision, we have a plan, and we know where we're headed, and we're hoping that we'll get there. And I think we will. I think we'll far exceed our expectations and far exceed what our plan covers. I think there'll be, after we finish the plan that we already have, like you said, the different stages, I think there'll be more and more and more and more and more plans. And as people change and people move in, and we will have growth. I'm a firm believer in that. I'm a firm believer in bringing people out from the bypass into the town, and we will have growth. And we are a hidden gem. Pollocksville is a hidden gem in the Jones County area, and people just don't know it yet. Some people do, and others will make sure to learn. We'll make sure that they learn that and see that too.
I agree with you, Nancy. I think one of the things I told several people this after the flood. A colleague of mine said, "Jay, are you going to have a town to govern after the flood?" And I said, "I don't know, but I want you to think everything on the except for one street in Pollocksville. I want you to think about everything on the west side and along Main Street. Every house that was flooded with the possibility that was occupied and flooded has been restored, rebuilt, reoccupied, some with the original owners, some have sold it and people have gone and fixed it up. We've got we've had what since the flood, five new homes
Right.
built in a resilient, flood resistant manner. Um, I think one of the struggles that we're dealing with right now in Pollocksville is available property within our corporate limits, and that goes back to my comment earlier. We've got some adjacent property. The other thing we've got is we've got sewer.
We do.
We've got sewer,
We do.
and years ago, one of my colleagues was of the attitude, if you build it, they will come. Well, Pollocksville built water and then we built sewer. I don't think it has come quite as quickly as we hoped it would, but it's there. And if someone wants to go in and build a bunch of houses or apartments, you were mentioning about I won't say questionable decisions, but things that raised a roof. And I think one of the best examples was the apartments.
Mm.
We built 12 apartments, and then the owner came in and built 24 more, and everybody said, "Oh, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be ramshackle." You know, I I think it's been a great boon for Pollocksville. I mean, not only from a tax standpoint and a utility standpoint, but there's some great folks, good citizens who live there. And I'd take another 36 apartments if we could find the land for them. I'd take another 36 homes, um, because we can support it.
Right,
And
right.
one of the benefits would be that you could still have those 36 apartments and everything, and still get to the biggest Harris teeter in the world in 15
Exactly
minutes.
right. That's
So
exactly right. Well, I look at New Bern a lot. I mean, I go to New Bern quite frequently, as I'm sure you do. And I look at New Bern because years ago, they were always a bustling small town. But now, because of people moving there and retiring there and coming there, young people, old people, new people, permanent residents that have been there for years and years and years, it has demanded other businesses to come in. Now there's restaurants everywhere, and it demanded that Harris Teeter. I envision Pollocksville having a big Harris Teeter too. I want Bucky's. I think Bucky's would be a great addition to Pollocksville. So people stop miles around. And I hear time and time again, Jay, and we won't belabor this, but I hear time and time again from developers, oh, you don't have the traffic to go through. You don't have the traffic. You don't have the traffic. You don't have the traffic. And I looked at that and I said, no, we've never had the traffic, but we were a bustling town years and years and years ago. We can be again. And Sam Walton did not start in huge uh, cosmopolitan areas. He started his first stores were in rural areas because he saw a need. He saw a need and he built those stores in rural areas. And now look. So the stores that we want to come in, the places that we want to come, they need to see a need, and we have a need.
and I think we have a need. I guess my the some folks that I have talked with said that it is just difficult. It is difficult, excuse me, difficult to acquire property, um, for the person who's buying that property to pay what the owner wants, and that's between them, and then get a reasonable return on their investment. Um, One of the things that I would love to do, and I've been working on it with DOT, is this about 4 acre parcel that's at the bypass that is owned by DOT that they took for right away, and they don't need it. And I'm trying to get them to give it or sell it or do something to the town. And, you know, rather than turning around and selling that property, what about a land lease? What about leasing the property, the land for 30 years? I mean, heck, you and I'll be dead before the lease expires.
Right.
Uh, and 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 so it is not a huge investment for someone to buy a piece of property and then have to build a building and then have to make some money out of it. Um, I think things will change. Change comes slow. Um, Folks have things that they want to hold on to, or uh, uh, and and yet I'm just convinced that as time goes on, people will be more receptive to parting with their property or agreeing to change. I mean, a lot of folks don't want us to change, Nancy. They
That's
want us to they want us to stay like we are. Um, so they're
you know,
challenges.
yeah, and change is inevitable, whether we want it to change or not. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. I mean, we certainly had a big change, and we've had big changes in the past, and we've been resilient. Jay, as your final comments, if you were a on TV and you were doing an ad for Pollocksville, a commercial ad for Pollocksville, what would you say?
Ooh, gosh, Nancy, I don't know. I've made so many stump speeches when people talk about, every year the TV people call me and say, "Talk to me about Pollocksville after the flood." So what has it been now? 7 years, 8 years. Um, I just still say that we're growing, we're improving, we're coming back. We have a lot to offer. Give us a try. Give us a try. And um, I think for the most part, folks here as well as town government are willing to do just about anything within reason to encourage people to be part of our community.
I agree.
Um,
I
I
agree.
think.
Jay, thank you so much for taking your time today and talking about Pollocksville. He's right. Give us a try, folks. You don't know what you're missing. So come give us a try. Come take a look at us and come live with us and learn from us and enjoy our amenities that we do have. We do have some beautiful nature. We do have some beautiful riverfront. We do have some beautiful uh, like he mentioned, the boat ramp and a kayak launch that's ADA compliant, and there's more coming. So there's more coming. Jay, thank you so much for being on What's Your
Thank
Idea
you.
today with Nancy Barbie and talking about Pollocksville. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year.